Are you a transit rider, transit planner, or just curious about how buses and trains work in your city? Well, today we have the perfect book for you, and that's Jarrett Walker's Human Transit. Welcome to the Urban Mobility Book Review Series. Each episode picks a book, explains why you should read this book, gives you the big picture, and outlines the key concepts, all in a nutshell. Today's book, Human Transit: How Clearer Thinking About Public Transit Can Enrich Our Lives and Our Communities, by Jarrett Walker. Let's start with the fact that Jarrett Walker has over 20 years of transit planning experience, and he takes all this knowledge and distills it into a format that the average person can understand. Most of these concepts are around basic geometry and geography, and Jarrett Walker presents these concepts in a way that's easy to understand for the average user of transit, and he presents them in a way that can be applied to almost any public transit system. With a PhD in the humanities, Jarrett Walker is not your typical transit planner. Where most transit planners have degrees in either urban planning or transport engineering, you'll learn that this author is not wedded to numbers, but sees models in their useful place as a way to deliver efficient transit service. Jarrett Walker summarizes his profession as such, quote, "For a variety of reasons, transit planning has not evolved as a credentialed discipline, like law, engineering, or architecture, where everyone has to pass a particular course of studies before they can be licensed to work. Transit agencies often value real-world experience more than education." So for those of you who are not engineers by profession, that's really good news for you. That means you can bring your own unique perspective into the transit planning field. And all you need to know, the really basics, are contained in this book. So the big picture comes down to this: that we need to focus transit planner on the users. And the way to do that is to start with who we think the users are. Transit models should serve users, and we should not be forcing users to conform to preconceived models. Jarrett Walker reminds us to put users at the center of transit planning, because if it's not clear who we're designing for, then it's very difficult to prioritize the technical expertise we need to solve these problems. But with the users in mind, Jarrett Walker proceeds with one caveat, and I quote, "The physical design of cities determine transit outcome far more than transit planning does," end quote. Next, let's proceed to the 7 key functions of transit, which I found was a very useful way to think about what the user needs in a transit system. Let's go by these points one by one. 1. It takes me where I want to go. And this means that public transit really starts from the front door and not from the closest bus stop. This means that mass transit is a compromise, but it gets a much better deal in dense urban environments where it's easier to place transit stops closer to where people live and where people shop. 2. It takes me when I want to go. It's hard for people who don't take transit to understand the importance of when it is for transit users. Imagine that you had a car, but the garage door only opens once every half an hour. So top of the hour or the bottom of the hour, and that's the only time you can get out. How much less useful would that car be to you? And imagine if that garage door was closed between 9 p.m. and 9 a.m. That is how some transit systems organize their schedules. 3, it's a good use of my time. Imagine that instead of a dinky transit shelter, you had a waiting lounge with full food service and a business class recliner. Imagine the experience of waiting in an airport versus waiting at a train station. That illustrates how important it is to improve the waiting experience. 4, it's a good use of my money. And here we're talking about the user perspective, so what you put in the fare box or what you pay as a monthly pass. In this, you think about what you're getting for the money. So maybe you're willing to pay more for a better transit system, or you're willing to pay more to travel more distance. 5, it respects me. And this talks about quality, civility, and safety, especially if you're part of a vulnerable group. 6, can I trust it? Is my bus gonna arrive on time or at all? 7, it gives me the freedom to change my plans. If I have something that comes up at the last minute, how likely am I to get there in time? For each of these 7 key functions of transit, Jarrett Walker then links these to quantitative indicators, such as the number of stations or stops, the connectivity, frequency, and the speed of the various transit modes. The bottom line of this book is that there's an art and a science to transit planning, and that neither the purely technical perspective nor just a general understanding of user wants can solve the problem of designing a good transit system. And that's Human Transit by Jarrett Walker. Thank you for joining us on this episode of the Urban Mobility Book Review Series. And for more content like this, hit the subscribe button and ring that bell.